having 17,000 islands across 8,500 kilometers of waters, provide a unique challenge for the Indonesian armed forces, because not every island can be defended with enough personnel, equipment, and supplies. So they must rely on all means available to move their personnel and equipment from one location to another in a timely manner. On land or air, they use trucks and planes. And on water, one of their tools is by using landing ship tank or LST. So today, let's talk about it a little bit. We're gonna discuss the Indonesian Navy's indigenous class of LST, the Teluk Bintuni class, and find out what capabilities it has. Landing Ship Tank or LST is a naval ship specially designed to transport and deploy troops, vehicles, and supplies onto foreign shores during amphibious military operations. The first LSTs were designed during World War II to disembark military forces without the use of dock facilities or various cranes and lifts. They gave the Allies the ability to conduct amphibious landings at any location that had a gradually sloped beach. This ability allowed the Allies to assault poorly defended sectors, thereby achieving operational surprise. By 1945, more than 1,000 LSTs were produced in the US alone with an astonishing quick construction time of only 2 months. Since gaining independence, Indonesian military leaders have recognized LST as an important naval capability. The effective use of LST by the Dutch during Operation Product, or commonly known in Indonesia as Agresi Militer Belanda I in 1947, and 10 years later, the need for LST to carry out an amphibious landing of their own to liberate West Papua made Indonesian military leaders searching for LSTs. Lucky for them, the US had hundreds of LSTs waiting to be adopted by a new master. Starting 1960, the Indonesian Navy began procuring used LST-1 and LST-542 from the US. This LST was named Teluk Lasa class, and a total of 10 vessels were bought between 1960 and 1967. Additionally, a copy of LST-542 named KRI Teluk Amboina was also bought in 1961, and she is the longest-serving vessel of the Indonesian Navy to date. Even though the amphibious operation that was one of the reasons the Navy bought these vessels was cancelled, they still maintain this capability and even added more vessels into their fleet. 6 Korean-made LSTs based on LST-542 design were bought in 1981 and named Teluk Semangka class. 3 vessels are still in service today. Next, the reunification of Germany became a blessing in disguise for the Indonesian Navy. Because overnight, dozens of surplus East Germany vessels were available for purchase. Thanks to former President Habibie, who was then the Minister of Research and Technology, a total of 16 Parsim-class corvette, 9 Condor-class minesweeper, and 14 Frost-class LST were bought in 1992, become the largest single procurement in the Indonesian Navy history. 11 vessels are still in active service today. Realizing their LST fleet is aging and becoming obsolete, in 2012, the Navy launched a project to build an indigenous class of LST to complement and eventually replace the aging LST fleet. Given a project name 8117M, the Navy intended to acquire a total of 12 new LSTs with several modifications from the lead ship to improve capability. So far, only 9 were made. This project was later known as Teluk Bintuni class LST. The design was made by state-owned enterprise DKB Shipyard and Engineering, but the construction was done by 3 different shipyards: DKB Shipyard, PT Bandar Abadi Shipyard, and PT DRU. The Teluk Bintuni class has length of 117 and 120 meter, beam of 16 and 80 meter, and displacement of around 4,500 tons, fully loaded. Powered by 2 3,285 kilowatt diesel engines, she has a maximum speed of 60 knots and a range of 6,200 nautical miles. The Teluk Bintuni class can accommodate 113 sailors, 6 helicopter crew, and 361 troops. She can carry 10 Leopard 2 tanks or 15 BMP-3F and has a spot for 2 helicopters. This class doesn't have a stern door, so to facilitate tank movement and positioning inside, she is equipped with a turntable. KRI Teluk Bintuni 522 is the only 120-meter variant with a hangar, while the rest are 117-meter variants, 3 with hangar facility and 5 without. Whilst for self-defense, Teluk Bintuni class is and will be equipped with various types of 40mm cannon and smaller 50 cal machine guns. The most recent update for this matter was during Indo Defense 2022, where Leonardo and Indian firm Larsen & Toubro have secured a contract to supply 2 of their 40mm naval gun systems for Teluk Bintuni class LST. However, we still don't know which ship will get what. Learning from her characteristic alone, the Teluk Bintuni class is definitely a big improvement for the Navy's amphibious capability. Compared to her predecessors, more troops, more equipment, and more supplies can be carried in one go. This is a big deal, because the increase of capacity allows for tremendous flexibility for the Navy on how to utilize Teluk Bintuni class in their operations. Additionally, this 17 to 20% extra space results in the reduced needs of an additional LST to carry the leftover of the other vessel, freeing up these limited resources for other needs. Moreover, with a flight deck and in some cases a hangar, Teluk Bintuni class can support more missions than her predecessors. Helicopter or VTOL drones can be launched to scan and patrol the surrounding area, air assault operations can be conducted from here, and attack helicopters can use her flight deck as a staging point to support the landing force. In the era of LPD and LHD, some might be wondering if LST is still relevant for modern amphibious operation, which is understandable, considering with the use of ship-to-shore connectors like LCAC, now amphibious landing can be conducted from a safer distance, putting the motherships like LPD and LHD away from CMD threats. At least, that's what the US Navy did by retiring their Newport-class LST in favor of LCAC. However, not every amphibious operations requires deploying such high-value assets. Against a small-sized enemy who doesn't possess advanced weaponry, an LST carrying armored vehicles, tanks, and a couple hundred marines should be enough. I know this scenario highly depends on who you are facing, but if there's a chance of using a much affordable solution to get the same results, why not use it? Moreover, having a naval asset that can perform beaching and unload hundreds of personnel and tons of equipment in one go is just convenient. Not only it's useful for military operations, but for HADR missions as well. Lastly, LPD and LHD are way more expensive to buy, operate, and maintain than LST, and not every country can afford them or even need them. Let's compare Tarla class LPD and Teluk Bintuni class for example. Philippines Tarla class price tag was at 2 billion peso or $36 million each, while the contract value of the last two of Teluk Bintuni class was $25.5 million or around $12.7 million each. A more attractive price tag for any Navy that focus more on numbers and mission flexibility. And that's why, in my opinion, LST still has a place in modern amphibious operation and won't go extinct anytime soon. I still don't know what will happen with the Teluk Bintuni class going forward. If the Navy is going to fulfill their initial plan to order 12 LST, I support it. But if not, I'm fine too. However, I expect there will be a follow-up LST program in the next 10 or 15 years based on the Teluk Bintuni class with several improvements to the design. I myself have two inputs that I wish can be applied to it. First, the new LST must get rid of the turntable and replace it with a stern door instead. This will allow a faster loading process and permits mating with LCU units. Second, certainly the new LST will have a flight deck and hangar facility. So having an elevator to move extra equipment from one level to another will be very useful. We can store extra logistics up in the hangar and flight decks for HADR missions, or store more helicopters below decks for air assault missions. Singapore's Endurance class LPD can be used as a great reference for this matter. And that's it for today. Indonesia Navy's latest LST fleet, the Teluk Bintuni class. What do you think about this LST? And what other features should a modern LST have? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching everyone. I'll see you in the next one.